Before we get started, hit that subscribe button. I never thought an office party would be the turning point in how I saw my marriage, my wife, and even myself. But that night changed everything. Aubrey, my wife, has always been this mix of gentleness and quiet strength. She has this soft laugh, a warmth that fills a room, and a kindness that's never in your face but always there. She worked at a mid-sized marketing firm, and practically everyone there adored her. She was that calm presence who could smooth over any tension with nothing more than a smile. I trusted her not because she had to prove it, but because she lived in a way that made it feel natural to do so. She asked me to come along to the company's annual party. I'm not really a fan of big gatherings, but she wanted me there for a bit to meet the team, she said with that hopeful smile of hers. And honestly, I wanted to see the world she spent most of her days in. The venue was a rented hall with soft lighting and mellow background music. People were clustered in small groups, laughing over drinks. Aubrey kept holding my hand as we made the rounds, introducing me to her co-workers, Liam, her laid-back project partner, Ellie, the bubbly designer, and Mark, the temp supervisor she'd been working under for a few months. Mark, though, he gave me an odd feeling. His handshake was a little too firm, his smile lingered just a bit too long, and the way he looked at Aubrey had a familiarity that made me uneasy. But I shook it off. I didn't want to be the jealous, insecure husband. Aubrey deserved better than that. For the first hour, things went smoothly. We swapped harmless office stories, and Aubrey checked on me often, brushing my arm lightly, making sure I was okay. But then something changed. Mark, who'd been drinking more heavily, started talking louder, laughing a little too much, and drifting too close to people, especially Aubrey. I noticed it. Liam noticed it. Even Ellie seemed uncomfortable. But Aubrey, being the peacekeeper she is, kept pulling away, as if she didn't want to make a scene. She hated that, hated drawing attention, hated confrontation. At one point, she went to the counter to grab drinks for both of us. I watched her and then saw Mark slip right behind her. He was too close, his presence suffocating. I don't know why, but something in me snapped. Aubrey reached for the glasses, unaware he was right behind her. Then, without warning, Mark placed his hand on her lower back, just low enough for it to be intentional. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't playful. It was deliberate. Aubrey flinched just enough for me to see it. And that's when I felt the punch in my chest. I didn't think. I didn't plan it. But I couldn't just stand there. Something protective inside me rose up. I was by her side before she could even step away. I grabbed Mark's wrist before he could pretend it was harmless. His grin vanished, replaced by confusion. The room didn't go silent, but I felt the shift in the air. I looked at Aubrey first, not him. Her eyes were wide, but she wasn't crying or panicking. She was just trying to stay composed like she always does when things get overwhelming. I saw that in her, and it tore me up. I let go of Mark's wrist and stepped between them, speaking calmly but firmly. "Don't ever touch my wife again." Mark scoffed, trying to laugh it off. "Relax, man. It was just—" "No," I interrupted. "Nothing about that was just anything." His smirk faltered, and for a moment there was silence. People were watching now. Some pretended not to, others stared openly. Liam stepped closer, his hand resting lightly on Aubrey's shoulder, offering a silent, steadying reassurance. Aubrey whispered, "Daniel, please. Let's just go." Her voice trembled, not from fear of me, but because she hated this, hated the attention, hated the conflict. I understood. So I made the decision not out of anger but out of love. I took her hand gently and said, "We're leaving." Before we walked out, I turned to Mark one last time. Calm. Controlled. "You don't deserve to be around people who respect boundaries. And after tonight, you won't be." He just stared at me, suddenly sobered in a way that alcohol couldn't fix. Outside, under the cool night sky, Aubrey was silent at first. I could tell she was working through it, processing. Finally, she broke the quiet. "Daniel, I didn't want you to see that." I looked at her, heart aching. "Aubrey, you never have to hide when someone wrongs you. Not from me." Her eyes filled with tears, and she looked away as if embarrassed. I could feel it, though. I could feel all the weight she had been carrying in silence. She was the kind of person who kept things in, who didn't like to burden anyone. She shook her head, whispering, "I'm sorry." And those two words, they cut me deeper than anything that had happened that night. I knelt beside her, lowering myself to her eye level. Aubrey, what exactly are you apologizing for? Her breath was shaky. For making you deal with that. For bringing you here. For not saying anything when he. Her voice broke and I froze. I wanted to say something, anything, but all I could do was take her hands in mine. Freezing isn't weakness. It's human. And what he did. That wasn't your fault. She blinked rapidly, trying to hold back the tears. I didn't want to ruin the night. I didn't want to make things awkward at work. I didn't want to seem dramatic. Aubrey, you were assaulted, I said softly. That wasn't a misunderstanding. You don't have to stay silent about that. Not to me. Not to anyone. Not ever. She climbed into the car and I sat beside her, the silence heavy between us. She stared out the window, replaying everything in her head. Has this happened before? I asked, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. Her jaw tightened. That alone was enough. Yeah, she whispered. He's made comments, gotten too close. Tried to guide me by the waist once. But I kept telling myself I was overreacting. My chest burned, but I didn't raise my voice. I kept it level, calm. And tonight, she said quietly. He crossed a line I can't excuse. When we finally made it home, Aubrey was drained. Not from fear, but from the weight of everything she'd been holding back. She sank onto the couch, exhausted. You probably think I should file a complaint, she said softly. I think you should do whatever makes you feel safe, I replied. I'm with you either way. She looked at me differently then. You didn't yell. You didn't blow up. You just stepped in. I'm not here to fight for ego, I told her. I'm here to protect what matters. She leaned her head on my shoulder, and for the first time that night, I saw her shoulders relax. I always thought you'd be angry if I told you. Not at him, at me. I wrapped my arm around her. I'd never blame you for someone else's violation. Her shoulders softened, finally free of the tension. Can we talk to HR tomorrow? She asked. I don't want to do it alone. And for the first time that night, I finally saw her take a breath, a real breath. And I knew I'd be by her side no matter what.